we investigate mysteries of the unknown. This is Sci Legends. Good morning. Welcome back to Sci Legends. My name is Mike L. Flickner of the Southern Indiana Ghost Hunters. I'd like to thank you for visiting with me today. Today we want to talk about superstitions. Are you superstitious? Many people are. Many people believe in good luck and bad luck. But what is luck? Is luck a man-made theory? Different people have different opinions about it. My opinion about luck is that it is made up. It is man-made. I believe in fate, and I believe in karma. For one thing, if you go out driving out in a storm, you have an accident, that was fate. Chances are that could happen. And karma, what goes around comes around. I'm sure you've heard of that before. But let's talk about superstitions, common superstitions, through the ages, where people thought that these things actually brought bad luck. Let's take a look, shall we? It is a common held fact of life that walking under a ladder would bring you misfortune. One supposed explanation for this superstition involves trying to compare a ladder with the gallows used in the medieval era. It is commonly believed that if one were to walk underneath a ladder, it would ultimately lead to one's own death by hanging. And it is also believed that the ghost of those executed on the gallows took possession of the triangle that was formed by the leaning ladder, thus making the ladder itself a haunted location area. It's also believed that walking under a ladder is unlucky because at that time ladders were leaned against the gallows so that the executioner could climb up the gallows in order to get the corpse of the accused. If a person were to have walked under the ladder at that time, they were at risk of having a dead body fall on them, and it would either crush them to death or it would greatly injure the individual from the impact. Another belief regarding this superstition stems from the ancient Egyptians. Egyptians believed that pyramids were powerful forces of nature, even something as simple as a ladder. If one were to walk under one, the sacred power of the pyramid would be broken. There is also a belief that the ladder represented the Holy Trinity in Christian theology. According to the legend, if one were to walk underneath a ladder, in this version of the myth, it meant that that person was ultimately sinned against the Holy Spirit, and that said sin would never be forgiven. There are many versions as to how you can undo the bad luck. If you ever happen to walk underneath a ladder, one version of the myth entails that you go back through the ladder, while another version say that you wait for a dog to walk by. Cats were domesticated over 10,000 years ago in the Middle East and later became the center of Egyptian worship. Cats were worshipped by the Egyptians and honored with jewels and other treasures because of their hunting abilities against snakes and other vermin, poise, grace, and beauty. For 100 years, black cats have become a kind of superstition. Some superstitions are bad and some are good. In the spirit of Halloween, we ask, why have black cats become associated in people's minds with witches, bad luck, and evil spirits? The fear of black cats first arose in Europe in the Middle Ages. As their numbers grew within the cities, they were seen as pests. Cats are nocturnal and roam at night, thus their agile movements and eyes that glowed at night became the image of darkness, mystery, and evil. When a cat would find shelter with an older woman living alone, the cat became a source of comfort and companionship, as they do to all of us. If someone mistreated her cat, the woman might very well curse that person. If that person then became ill, the witch and her cat were blamed. If a black cat walked into a room of an ill person and the person later died, it was blamed on the cat's powers. If a black cat crossed a person's path without harming them, this indicated that the person was then protected by the devil. To reverse the bad luck, it was said you should walk in a circle, then go backward across the spot where you cross paths with the cat, and count to 13. Freya, the goddess of love and fertility, rode a chariot that was pulled by 2 black cats. The cats were turned into swift black horses, possessed by the devil. After serving Freya for 7 years, the cats were rewarded by being turned into witches, disguised as black cats. Superstitions around black cats have lasted over 100 years. Unfortunately, many black cats are given up to humane societies. As silly as it may seem, sometimes these beautiful animals are relinquished based upon these silly superstitions. If you own a black cat, never fear. Some people have found the presence of black cat to be a positive superstition too. In Britain, wives of fishermen believe that their husbands will return safely if a black cat is kept in the house. A black cat in the audience on opening night foretells a successful play. According to local superstition in the south of France, black cats bring good luck to owners who feed them well and treat them with respect. English sailors believed that keeping black cats happy would ensure fair weather when they went to sea. To cure a sty on the eyelid, rub it with the tail of a black cat, or that might just result in an eyeful of cat hair in one angry cat. Step on a crack, break your mother's back. The origin of this superstition was in a very dark time in our history. It was at a time when racism was at its peak throughout the world. Black men and women were tortured and killed on a daily basis without any law prohibiting it. This is why most people who know the origin of this superstition try to avoid speaking about it. It used to be something like step on a crack and your mother will turn black. The meaning behind this shameless superstition is how hateful the racial bias was during this period. It implied that if you stepped on a crack on the road, then you would be very unlucky. And to portray a measure of unluckiness, it was said that a black person would enter into the family. This superstition can also be traced back to one more origin. This one is not really that hate-filled, but is much scarier to the believers. It is said that cracks in the pavement are links to the underworld, and by stepping on one such crack, you could be inviting a demon to ruin your life, and this demon will haunt you and your family. While one origin of this superstition is based on the presence of mythological demons living underneath the ground, the other one is a testament to the fact that our demons come from within. Whatever be the origin you follow, this is one dark superstition, and even discussing it is equivalent to inviting suffering upon ourselves. It is much simpler to just avoid stepping on cracks so that we can avoid listening to anyone rhyming this line to us. Holding one's breath while driving by a cemetery. The city of Missoula's posted about cemetery folklore and say we hold our breath while driving past a cemetery because we could possibly breathe in the spirit of someone who has recently died. They also add that tucking our thumbs into our fist while passing a cemetery will protect our parents. In research by an author named Sanguinarius, they state that we hold our breath because you will either wake a spirit with each breath, or else you, still being alive, will make the spirits jealous. The Greeks believed that one's reflection on the surface of a pool of water revealed one's soul, but it was Roman artisans who actually learned to manufacture mirrors from polished metal surfaces, and believed their gods observed souls through these mirrors. To damage a mirror was considered so disrespectful that people thought it compelled the gods to rain bad luck on anyone so careless. Around the 3rd century, mirrors were being made from glass, and breakage became a lot more commonplace. But the Romans did not believe that the ensuing bad luck would last forever. They believed that the body renewed itself every 7 years. The belief that good luck would eventually return was surely comforting, and people have always tended to believe things that make them feel good, even when untrue. Just like walking under a ladder, crossing paths with a black cat, or breaking a mirror, many people hold fast to the belief that Friday the 13th brings bad luck. Though it's uncertain exactly when this particular tradition began, negative superstitions have swirled around the number 13 for centuries. While Western cultures have historically associated the number 12 with completeness, there are 12 days of Christmas, 12 months of the zodiac signs, 12 labors of Hercules, 12 gods of Olympus, and 12 tribes of Israel. Just to name a few examples, its successor 13 has a long history as a sign of bad luck. The ancient code of Hammurabi, for example, reportedly omitted a 13th law from its list of legal rules. Though this was probably a clerical error, superstitions people believe sometimes point to this as proof of 13's long-standing negative associations. According to biblical tradition, 13 guests attended the Last Supper held on Maundy Thursday, including Jesus and his 12 apostles, one of whom, Judas, betrayed him. The next day, of course, was Good Friday, the day of Jesus' crucifixion. The seating arrangement of the Last Supper is believed to have given rise to a long-standing Christian superstition that having 13 guests at a table was a bad omen, specifically that it was courting death. Though Friday's negative associations are weaker, some have suggested they also have roots in Christian tradition. Just as Jesus was crucified on a Friday, Friday was also said to be the day that Eve gave Adam the fateful apple from the tree of knowledge, as well as the day Cain killed his brother Abel. Of course, there has been a lot of superstitions throughout the ages. These are just a few to name. Some of the others are like opening an umbrella inside of a building. If you do that, it'll anger the sun gods and they'll rain bad luck down upon you. Another one is spilling salt, and that bridges from where salt used to be a very expensive commodity back in the day. It's hard to come by. In fact, in the old days, with the soldiers from Greece and all that, sometimes they would use salt as their pay. And to spill salt was considered very unlucky. And the way to cure the bad luck of spilling salt was to take a dab of that salt and pitch it over your left shoulder. And the reason for that is that the salt would fly in the devil's eyes and it'd blind him, because the devil's supposedly always behind you, behind your left shoulder. Whatever the thing is about all these stories and superstitions is they're all kind of silly. So if you're superstitious, I hope that this video didn't by any means upset you. The superstitions are just what they are, man-made objects. Thank you for visiting with me again today. Southern Indiana Ghost Hunters and Legends. I'm Mike Flickner, and I'll see you next time.